Quick word of warning, I'm sorry if my audio sounds a little off. The closet I record in currently has no clothes to absorb and soften the sound, so I'm currently recording at my desk and played around with some of the settings. Alright, on to the video. How does one effectively start a video discussing the broader impact of New Super Mario Bros? I'll answer my own question. You don't. New Super Mario Bros. During its initial 2006 launch was a cultural revolution. So, to understand the impact of this game and the eventual masterclass of a mode we'll be talking about, let us step back and understand what the gaming landscape was before the DS launched. Nintendo in 2004 was pretty underwhelming. I mean, you had the GameCube, which wasn't doing too hot. The Game Boy Advance just existed, and sure, it was doing well, but it was more of a given that any of Nintendo's handhelds would do well. I mean, at Nintendo's 2003 E3 press conference, and I use those words specifically because E3 looked something like this.
During that same period, Nintendo sold through over 3.3 million units of GameCube, a jump of 41%.
2003, to my knowledge, was one of the only years during this more mundane time of E3 that they didn't show a single graph or statistic. Probably because of... yeah. In 2004, Nintendo was ready to take a big risk by introducing the Nintendo DS. A little weird, considering the Game Boy Advance was still selling well, but whatever. I've seen weirder things come out from them.
Hello, Mario.
Reggie comes out, for the first time ever, I might remind you all, and says the following.
My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names. And we're about making games.
Nintendo and ass together? This was a bold new shift, paired with the unveiling of the DS. You all know what the DS stands for, right? Dual screens.
DS has a much larger and more relevant meaning. DS, Developer's System.
I imagine somebody at Nintendo was staying up late one night and was trying to come up with funny ways to turn the DS's name on its head. Here are a few I've personally come up with. So while Nintendo was trying to bring on this fresh new look for their company, they decided to also somewhat go against their new branding strategy by bringing back the old for the new. New Super Mario Bros. Was the valiant attempt by Nintendo to revive the classic Mario formula by modernizing the experience. Everybody I knew growing up ate these games up. If someone didn't have a DS, you bet they had New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Even years later, when Nintendo did the laziest port job and brought over New Super Mario Bros. U to the Switch, you could give 1/3 of Canada a copy of this game. I've dreamed of a world where New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe doesn't exist. And Canada, but that one is a little far-fetched. So how well did the DS Classic sell? Yowzers! It's safe to say that the new Super Mario Bros. Games both impacted gaming and culture. Gaming-wise, this series gave rise to the resurgence of 2D platformers. Cultural-wise, this game was the reason Mom and Dad played Mario again. But after this is all said and done, how does the original New Super Mario Bros. Hold up today? I'm not gonna beat around the bush. This game is still really fun. A major talking point I hear about this game is that people don't like how it presented itself. The moniker of new in New Super Mario Bros. Is a bit of a running joke now, but it truly felt like a fresh new experience at the time. The last original 2D Mario game before this was Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins way back in 1992. 14 years went by without an original 2D Mario game, and looking at New Super Mario Bros, it certainly shook things up. We've got a brand new art style using a combination of 3D models and 2D pre-rendered sprites. You'd think the integration of the two would look jarring, but everything looks as though it belongs, especially on the original DS screen. Inevitably, the 256 by 192 pixels of the DS aren't going to look great on HD displays. You might have heard this before from other reviewers, but handheld games have a particular look that can only be understood when playing on original hardware. This game introduces a whole new batch of enemies, some of which have become mainstays in Mario games, but others have remained dormant, never to be used again. It is easy to associate this series with typical Goombas and Koopas, but look at this. I have no idea what it is, but I love it. New Super Mario Bros. As a series is typically plagued with rehashing samey feeling music and bosses. The original DS this game strays away from that convention. In my honest opinion, it delivers an iconic soundtrack that recaptures and builds upon the classic tunes of the NES and SNES Mario days. The bosses are a huge step up from even like modern Mario. There were no Koopalings yet. Instead, we have fun, unique boss fights in every world, an expansive new campaign, brand new bosses and enemies, an enhanced moveset. New Super Mario Bros. Had a specific goal in mind, to bring back Super Mario for the 21st century, and it did with flying colors. But let's be real here, none of you care about New Super Mario Bros.' main campaign. You all care about the Mario vs. Luigi mode, which is conveniently below the main campaign in the main menu. As a little bonus, Nintendo decided to include a 1v1 type mode. You know it's gotta be good if I'm making a whole video on it. Now, for a bit of background, this mode is a local multiplayer mode that utilizes the DS's download play feature. This was the best, man. You could play multiplayer games without owning the cartridge. To this day, I think this tech is fascinating. Now, there's a quick little problem with this that none of you have probably realized by now. Excuse me for breaking the fourth wall per se, but whenever you watch a Danerade production, part of that process is recording the footage of the game I'm talking about. Wow, thank you, Einstein, for pointing that one out. Now, when it comes to older media, it is much more convenient to simply emulate the game and record footage directly off a computer. It'll create a pretty clean capture, though you probably haven't noticed it since I'm not one of those monsters who decides to immediately give it away by turning on all the advanced graphic settings, like, oh, how about we increase the resolution to 4K on this 480p game? Just stop. Bonus points if you take a 4x3 game and just stretch it out. Ew. If you're one of these people, I'm not mad, just disappointed. So anyways, one of the faults of emulation is that you cannot tangibly recreate DS download play for fairly obvious reasons. What, are you gonna connect two emulators locally or something? And when looking up footage online, someone forgot to turn on pixel perfect mode and stretch the tiny resolution to fit the frame. Imagine if you were watching this video, but the quality of the video looked like this. Because of all of these roadblocks, when in doubt, buy a DS capture card. Does this mean Danerade is going to talk about more DS games? Maybe he could go over some other classics, like Mario Kart DS or Kirby Canvas Curse. Oh, perhaps he could even try out Pokemon for the first time. Mario vs. Luigi has a straightforward concept. Collect the stars needed to win. Random stars will spawn on the map as indicated by the bottom screen, and you'll also be able to tell how far away you and your opponent are. The key here is that once you collect a star, it's not like it's locked for yourself forever. No. You can steal your opponent's star. This can be achieved by jumping on their head, hitting them with fireballs, knocking Koopa shells into them. The works. This gameplay loop of messing with each other and endlessly annoying your friends is the main draw of this game mode. The chaos that ensues alone had me hooked for hours as a kid. Even today, years later, I find everything about this game mode to have aged like fine wine. It seems like every round is a little different. You might think you've got a sustainable lead, but then one mistake leads to another, and another, and oopsie, Luigi wins! The total insanity you and your friends will go through just to claim enough stars to win leads to a lot of shouting back and forth. The only things I can think of that ruins actual friendships in life are politics, religion, and this Mario vs. Luigi mode. Bloc Quebecois voters, I would be weary around this part of town. Right off the bat, there are 5 stages to choose from. They do something a little interesting here, as all the stages loop, so you can easily catch up to people or stars. The first stage is based on your typical Mario Grassland theme, and I'm going to be honest, it took me until watching back the footage to realize this stage is based on the first half of the original 1-1 from Super Mario Bros. It makes for a surprisingly fun stage. This is pretty good. Not the best stage, but definitely middle of the pack. It's one worth playing on. Stage 2 is underground themed. This is probably the best stage this mode has to offer. I didn't think I'd be saying this as, sorry underground stage lovers, I don't particularly enjoy underground stages that much, but this stage gets a big ol' approval in my book simply because it is the smallest and the most cramped, and I love it. Stars are bouncing everywhere, and since everything is made of bricks, it's easy to break the stage while you play. You can even go on top of the stage and surprise attack your friends. This is an easy 10 out of 10. The winter stage is next, and I think this stage is fine. It's definitely the largest stage, which is probably its biggest problem. You just don't see each other as much, making the action and tension less impactful. Plus, they include these spinning platforms that launch you in the sky, which means you can be far away from your opponent on both an X and Y axis. The one thing that saves this stage is this blue Koopa Troopa that, when killed, always nets the blue shell power-up, which definitely adds to the chaos. Quick side note, blue shell fans, please rise up. I will not allow any blue shell power-up slander in the comments. Probably the most unique stage of the bunch, the pipe stage. I like this one, but it is the most RNG based by a long shot. There are parts of the map where you enter and exit through pipes. That entering and exiting animation can take a while, and that's where the RNG plays a role. If the star happens to spawn right next to you, or you're on the right side of the map, you're gonna get it first. The second thing is that there is only one question mark block with a power-up, which means you'll get the bulk of your power-ups through the coins you collect. That is something I've yet to mention. If you collect 8 coins throughout the stage, you'll receive a random power-up. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes the game trolls you by giving you a mini mushroom or giving your opponent a mega mushroom. Fun times, good oldies. The frantic wall jumping paired with the piranha plants makes movement throughout this stage feel chaotic and tense. Someone at Nintendo found the most inconvenient spots to place piranha plants, and I love it, but not while actually playing. And finally, but certainly least, is the castle-inspired stage. Yeah, this one sucks. This is the only real dud in the package. I love castle stages, both in this game and in other Mario games. With this stage, it honestly just has to do with the roof going up and down. It slows down the action heavily and creates awkward waiting periods. It's clear to me that the best stages are the smallest ones, where you can constantly pounce on your friends. This is my only real complaint. I wish this mode had a couple extra stages. If they added a sky and desert stage and made them small and compact, then we'd be rolling on our way to greatness. And that was the masterpiece of a mode known as Mario vs. Luigi. I'm seriously wondering why Nintendo never brought back this mode. It is so simple in concept, but the execution is done perfectly, creating an experience that both young children and adults can enjoy. Over 15 years later, here I am, making a video about it just because it's so good. Do you know how many games would kill to have this opportunity to be given the analysis lens by Mr. Danerade? Probably that many. I don't really think a Game Loft cares about my opinion of Disney Dreamlight Valley.